All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for my episode here. This is the last week of my theme with the month of April, dealing with healing and inspiration. This is episode 65, entitled How to Effectively Forgive Through the Prism of Redemption. How to effectively forgive through the prism of redemption. And thank you so much for joining me for my podcast here, which is Surviving Your Journey Toward Success. I'm your host, Nichel Anderson. Let's go ahead and get started. So in this day, I'm thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome my survivors of the journey to my podcast that aims to inspire and motivate, that you will continue to have joy, peace of mind, and for your sustained success. So this would be a shorter podcast in the sense of getting to the root of this whole theme and how you can move forward. It's mainly dealing with the people that phase of their road to forgiveness or road to their redemption, and how you can move forward. So my important point is that we can forgive, but we have to see the change and especially the sincere apology to move forward from them. Without such elements of action, the road for them and you towards forgiveness will never arise, and you have to decide to exit that road. Okay? When we stay longer on a path, it normally leads to nowhere when we miss the exits to get off. And in this important point, what I want to reiterate to is that it's not that I want to teach that you should never forgive, never should forgive, hold on to it, they need to do this. It's a process, right? And we can't belittle the process to get to forgiveness, and we can't focus on what I have been reading some articles, and over the time they had me doing mostly the person that did the deed work, right? You do them injustice when you quickly, too soon forgive, when forgive should not be on the table. We should be talking about what happened. Are we at the point to fully accept, not halfway accept? That's the difference. I need to do a podcast on that. And understand the process of how deep the wounds are. See, in time is like truth to me. Time is truth, truth is time. In time, all the people that's involved, even the ones that got hurt, will be revealed to the true intention. Some people do hold on, and it's because they stuck in the acceptance. Okay, you can call it anger, you can call it frustrated, all those emotions. I don't want to say the word resentment. I see that a lot when I look at different people talking about forgiveness and redemption and what have you. They put it on the victim, and they say, if you want to release that resentment, you need to do this and that, and you need to do this. When we need to go, especially from my spiritual belief, Jesus make it real quick, real simple. And when you look into what we have been told what we should do, you be able to understand it more better. You just got to keep at it, because we are surrounded in this world that's telling us something else that to me benefit the person that did the bad deed. It benefits them. And now I know, growing up, being around all that misinformation and all that negativity, I didn't get to heal like I supposed to have healed. And I've been through the plan and the path they said to go. I did what I was told, and all it caused was more pain down the road, and an opportunity for them to continue to knock you down. No, in this world you got to be on it, and you got to look at what it is, and you got to get what you need. Everybody needs nurturement, and if you don't get that, then it's no growth. And come to find out, as I'm looking back through all those years, those individuals didn't want to feel the guilt, did not want to feel the necessary discomfort of the choices that they made. And so now you're in the predicament that when you do your work on yourself, once you get out of acceptance can take a decade, 2 decades. It could take it where everything's on the table, everything is revealed. And we find that in scripture too, because it said what's in the dark should come to light, and you should be able to see it. And some people, even if they the one that's been victim, they can't. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot. Trust is deep. Emotional pain is deep. And I'm just so sick of the discussion of about forgiveness, because they're teaching people wrong. You might get a few articles or people talking about acceptance or acknowledging. They quickly focus back on the victim and say, well, you just have to let it go. No, we have to process this. If we was brought into this mess by choices by somebody else, that person should be the leader and taking a hold of what they need to do. And while I'm working on healing and accepting it, this is the truth, that this person is not what you thought that the person was to do such a thing. I have to get to the point of accepting it. And acceptance, that whole way and that whole level, is also dealing with the healing. And sometimes rooms take a long time, and it's an injustice to you to rush it, but to effectively move forward and you out of that. And now you're getting closer to the point that you could put forgiveness on the table. Now it's time to make the choices that are required. So my wisdom point is that our hearts aim and yearns to forgive, which forgiveness is a clean slate, because you have seen the redemption, right? Or you have not seen it. So a new beginning is at the forefront, a new hope to start fresh by learning from before. That it's devastating that once you forgive that person, if they would turn back to what they did before, can we cause that pain and that hurt? So why is this so? Well, you have to take things slow. That's how you effectively get to the point that you can forgive when you've seen the redemption, or you have not. So you can measure the re-entry of that person in your life. Forgiveness is really choices. I can't wait till I do my next part 4, because that's what my theme. Forgiveness is the domain of choice. Okay, period. That's what it is. And you don't get to that until you evaluate. You don't sign a mortgage, like it's nothing, and bam, you just go ahead and get the house. Before you got to that point, you had to do a whole bunch of stuff to get to the point to get approved. Or if it's a whatever big purchase that you trying to buy, it takes a long process to get to the point that you're signing on the contract to move forward. You made a choice at that moment that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to solidify it. That's what you got to think about forgiveness. It's a big stake. It's a big, big element on the table. So why is that so? That's why I said you have to take things slow. You have to measure the re-entry of that person in your life to effectively merge on that road of your journey to forgive after redemption by that person, and after they have and accepted their deed of what they did. Okay? Of what they did. For mental peace and strengthening your awareness to your emotional state. Okay? They have to acknowledge that, and they have to work on themselves to change and to do the necessarily. Okay, so the other part is, who are we talking about in a sense? My point on that, number 2, is that we all can forgive once we feel honored and trust that other person. So once that is accomplished, the person can effectively forgive for the long term, leading up to the next phase, accepting that person back in their lives. So these are choices. When we get to the road, right, the end of the road where you have to decide, that's where forgiveness lives and vibrates on. Everything is prior to that. It's not it. It's not the real thing, because it's not in balance. So accepting that person back in your life is the choice you got to decide, or not. Because some people can forgive and let that person in their life and forgive them too quickly, but still want to, be able to have what they thought that they had, and they become, hurt. Again, because the person repeats it. They never learned their lesson because they never did anything, because they was running away from the guilt and the shame. So we have to look at it that sometimes you have to decide to forgive, but you still want to live separate lives. You want to move on, okay? And we have to accept that's the choice that the person made. So it is effective in that sense when you go about it in that way. As I mentioned, that offers a way to move forward. You go by it at a slow pace, and time would tell you what's the next element, what's the next phase you got to do. So what all that I'm referring to? Well, when we see and we can listen to what needs that you need to be able to heal, and you are attuning to that, you don't necessarily have to have that person initially in your life to heal. Like, you don't have to go to therapy with them. It would be great if that's the case in some situations, and sometimes it's not. And you have to do the necessarily to talk about it. And that's why I have my episode 8 and episode 9 to help you to do that. And that way you can understand what overall you need to do to get to that level of forgiveness, to get to that road. Okay, after acceptance, you have to go through acceptance, which is the hardest journey. And when you do acceptance, you're doing it by observing the redemption as well as observing the incident that happened to understand it in a way that you can come to accepting that that's the truth. That allows a way to effectively get to the way that you have to eventually choose, which we're talking about, to forgive. It's a much deeper understanding, a much deeper healing. So your strategy to succeed is that you have to take away of a strategy, the strategy that it's easy. Just go ahead and get to that point to forgive after they redeem and it's real quick. No, you have to take your time. You have to use that time to measure your emotional needs that are in balance, not overdo it, but in some meditation, prayer, or focus and observation to how, when, how long, what that person did, what they did, and how you felt about it. This is about how you are feeling now, and what you did to excess in that way will help you longer in the future, or what needs to be done so you can heal. You're taking care of yourself. Just like if you were sick with the flu or anything, you're taking care of to get better. So your task to dusk to dawn is be willing to listen and to observe what is repetitive behavior in goodness by changing their ways. You're observing that, right? And when you get to the point that you need to forgive, then you would do so. You would know, it'll come to you. And when those are the ones that you can't, you will decide that trust is number one to prevent the hurt. And by accepting the truth, can help you to move forward, okay? Because for them, they have to change. They have to make that determination. And then you have to choose when you get to that path of the road if you want to forgive them and have that person in your life, okay? That's a two-part. Are you going to forgive them? Yes or no? And then are you going to actually have that person in your life for you to decide that if you don't, you want to move on, right? And it's an effective way to forgive or not forgive due to the outcome of them that still, will cause harm if they don't change. And you want to move forward for your mental peace. So you have to be able willing to listen, to observe. It's just like doing homework in a sense, and be observant to any repetitive behavior that's either for the goodness or for not. That's part of the table. So forgiveness is choices that you have to decide, and you have to observe it. And when you do that, you are moving through forgiveness in an effective way. It's just like an accountant or anybody or a doctor. They do the final examination before they can go ahead and check off, okay, you in good condition. This is how you can move on, or this is what needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to look at forgiveness. It's not some easy card. So your motivational takeaway is that in time, we learn a lot and we can grow stronger with a strong intent to balance out the imbalance for mental peace. So forgiveness is the domain of choices that you have to make based on the evaluation of truth, of trust, and the observation of redemption. That's what forgiveness is. It's like you're sitting at the table and you actually looking at everything. Now forgiveness is on the table, that you can decide which way you want to go. And in time reveals all truth. And it would tell you that through all of this, the person is worthy of forgiveness. And you will still make that choice. That's why I'm saying choice is really forgiveness. And if you decide to have them back, you will already have the requirements of what you need to go forward. And that's what you have to look at. So through all this month that came to me to focus on redemption, that tied into forgiveness, which you have to add in acceptance in there that I did the middle of this month. Redemption is a necessity for those that did the deed. Point blank. They got to go through their guilt. They got to go through their shame. Whatever. They got to do that. It's a lot of work on them, right? That's why most don't want to do it, and they put it on you. And you have to look. As soon as they say forgiveness, you shut that down. You listen to my last episode where I give you statements to say back to those that tell you. And you process that. And time will get you on the right track if you're moving too slow or if it's time for you to move on. Because emotional pain is hard and people run from it. And people choose denial. And they go insane when they do the denial road. They go insane. You don't want to do that. So you proactively go through the process. Listen to my episode 8 and episode 9 because I talk about episode emotional pain, where I read or listened to something and someone said in the sense that you just go ahead and just start forgiveness. You can't do that. You're emotional pain. Well, don't be resentful. You're not being resentful. That's hurt. You're dealing with hurt, pain. Why is that so hard for a lot of people to just say it? Speak the truth. The truth shall set you free. The truth shall set you free. The truth shall set you free. That's on both sides. And once you acknowledge that, I guarantee you everybody know what they should be doing. And it's not the person to hurry up and forgive and close the book because you're just covering it up. It's a really thin line of denial in most cases. And then when you do that, it's the road to insanity, because your heart is the last part that let it go. It's the last. That's just the way it is, folks. That's humanity. That's just the way it is. Sometimes it can be quick, sometimes it can't be not. But the deeds that have been done is some crazy, awful mess. If it's a small spill, yeah, you just get a little half of a paper towel, you wipe that right on up. If it's a big spill, you have to come out with a bucket of water, a mop. You got to mop it all up. It's unfair to think that everything that needs to be forgiven is the same. No, it's not. That's why I say forgiveness is a domain of your choices that you have to decide one way or the other to put them back in your life or not. And it's a domain of evaluation of what you're feeling, and time would tell you if you're holding on to something and you need to let it go. And how you can let it go is not necessarily, oh, we got to put that person No, you have a conversation in a sense of thinking of what happened, your acceptance, what you learned from it, okay, and what you want to see your future to be, not dwelling in that. And you let it go, that's their mess. It wasn't you, because you didn't do the deed. That's how you effectively get to the point. And forgiveness to me is not something to say, oh, I will leave with all your duties and you're fine. No, that's their spiritual journey. Forgiveness to me is when you're after the process of accepting it, and it's a decision that you have to make. Forgiveness is a decision that you have to make based on if they redeemed themselves and changed and did everything. And it's a choice. It's not the relieving of their spiritual pain and what they did. That's why they have to go through that, because the spiritual world is telling you were wrong and you have to fix it. If you don't fix it, that's your insanity. All right. Thank you so much. And again, my motivational takeaway is that in time we learn a lot and we can grow stronger with a strong intent to balance out the imbalance for mental peace. Thank you. For my podcast episode for my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey to Success, just to give you some information to not only stay in contact, but with the other things that I offer. I provide career consultation, offering the first 30 minutes are free. Thereafter, there is a fee access afterwards per hour and can be discussed on a case-by-case basis, depending on your need. So if it is an emergency and you need some consultation regarding your career or choices that you're about to make moving forward, in a sense, in your personal type objectives, then you can definitely contact me. The primary way to contact me is by email, which is info@nichelanderson.com. Now, I do have a toll-free number on my website. Now, that is actually only for webinars, when I'm doing like a free webinar and you're calling in. Once that number is through that medium, and it's only really for that, so it's not really connected to me directly. Now, I am working on that, but for right now it's not really, and when that changes, you would definitely get a notice of that to go forward. So just to recap, my primary way is info@nichelanderson.com. All right, so the other thing I want to share with you is that I also provide business courses and self-improvement courses. So that overall objective is to help you to create strategies that work for you, to get you motivated, to identify the ways to get or keep your joy and your mental peace. So I do provide that on the basis of your objective to gain success, and as I like to say, sustain success. You can find information on my courses that I release on my official website, which is www.nichelanderson.com, and you can go there and you can look at the different courses that I am releasing that are available. These courses are self-paced. They will be identified if they're considered to be like live sessions on a regular basis, but for the most part they are self-paced. During that time, I do have live sessions that once you have signed up for the course, you will see that in the schedule of what days that I'm available live, that you can talk to me and we can go over the courses going forward, right, on those particular topics. So that information is basically on my website that you can go to, which is nichelanderson.com. Now, I want to do a special call out for listeners that I have seen in my stats that are following me, continue to follow me, which I am thankful for. Now, to get connected more, to stay connected, I'm asking you to consider to join my newsletter that I do send out. And to do that, you just have to submit, of course, your name and your email. I don't spam. You could always request to be taken off the list. I don't send thousands of emails because I don't like thousands of emails from a particular source. So I keep it in a way that's informative, of course, because obviously you like the content because you hear and you enjoy it and you're getting something from it, which pleases me. To expand that and to move forward and to get into other ways that I can expand what I'm trying to do is to form a newsletter, to get that set up in the sense that I'm communicating that I can send that out more quickly, actually, through a podcast or any type of thing or production that I'm doing, where a newsletter is more, in the sense, faster to get that contact and to send it out on blast, right? And more opportunity to send more content compared to like social media characters to be able to get that message out. So do consider that to join my newsletter by providing, and you can find that link at the end of each episode. I have that link to basically to sign up here for Nichel E-List Tips newsletter. And you could do that and you can see that and click, and it's a short form, online form. It is secured and you can complete that. All right. The other thing I want to talk about is basically to subscribe to this podcast. If you haven't, please go ahead. Of course, this is going through Podbean. I have 2 podcasts. This one, of course, you're listening to is Surviving Your Journey to Success. And you can subscribe. Of course, you should see the subscribe button here at the bottom of this episode or at the top, whichever device that you're using. Now, I'm also available on iHeartRadio, on Spotify, on Google Play, on iTunes, and any other podcast directories for feed distribution. You can connect that way and subscribe. And if you like it, share it. Now, I am on social media. And so you do hear me a lot talk about Twitter. I'm mostly active on Twitter. I'm also active on Facebook. For the most part right now is Twitter. And I like the whole concept of keeping it short and sweet. In my closing, I want to say thank you again for joining me today. Here is my closing statement for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy. Always to your success.